How can I get my boyfriend to stop digging his tunnel? Spend enough time online and you will run across a post like this. On Reddit, why does digging a hole at the beach attract guys? On TikTok, day 5 of digging a hole as deep as possible. In the New York Post, amateur treasure hunter plunges 130 feet to his death in hole he dug inside his home. I feel like I see these stories with shocking frequency. Stories about men, and it is almost always men, driven by nothing more than the simple urge to dig a big hole. In the beach, in their backyard, under their kitchen, anywhere a hole could be dug. Ever heard of William Little? No? Well, how about his alias, the Mole Man of Hackney? He earned this title because he dug an entire network of tunnels underneath his district in London, only fully discovered when his mining caused the entire street outside his house to cave in. After his decades of digging created a series of sinkholes, Little was evicted and rehomed into a flat on the top floor of a nearby apartment building, where he kept digging, boring holes in the walls between the different rooms of his apartment. And I've been thinking about this phenomenon for months now. And the thing is, you can't think about digging a hole for that long without also feeling the urge. Maybe there is something special about it, I keep thinking. Maybe. I have a shovel. I have a patch of dirt. Surely these dudes must be getting something out of their digs. Shouldn't I at least try it? I know exactly what to blame for this most recent fixation. On February 7th, 2025, a small developer named Cyberwave released a $5 game on Steam with the incredible title, A Game About Digging a Hole. It has been, by many measures, improbably successful. It currently has over 10,000 reviews on Steam. For reference, 1,000 Times Resist, one of my favorite games of last year, doesn't even have a third that many. But actually, nothing seems improbable about the success of A Game About Digging a Hole to me, because as soon as I heard the title, I thought, I gotta buy that thing. A Game About Digging a Hole, or AGATA for short, starts simply enough. A new home promises treasure buried in the backyard. You're armed with an upgradable shovel called the Super Mega Digger 3000 Ultimate 2.0 and access to the internet where you can sell the various minerals you find in the ground for profit. An X marks the spot in your yard. Go wild. One of AGATA's best design decisions is how modest your digging ability is at the outset. Unlike Minecraft, where your fist is capable of excavating a cubic meter of dirt in seconds, the Super Mega Digger 3000 Ultimate 2.0 only removes a small scoop of soil with each click. Additionally, even the top layer of your yard is littered with rocks, and after picking up only 3 rocks, you fill up your pockets. So you go to your garage, sell those 3 rocks for $3, and begin the long process of improving your ability to dig. You return to the yard, dig up a few more rocks, make a few more bucks, and upgrade your shovel's digging radius. Now, you can scoop out a few more centimeters of dirt with each click. This is the game. Not long into AGATA, I realized why I felt so immediately drawn to it. As a young gamer, one of the first games I truly could not stop thinking about was Motherlode, created by XGen Studios and hosted on the Flash game site miniclip.com. Motherlode lodged in my young brain like no other game had, and few have since. In Motherlode, you play as the pilot of a drilling machine dropped onto the surface of Mars. The game, unlike AGATA, is 2D. You can only move in 4 directions. But really, the game is about moving in one direction. In Motherlode, like in AGATA, you dig a hole, retrieve minerals, and sell them for upgrades that let you more effectively dig the hole. On my first several runs of Motherlode as a youth, I created a labyrinth for myself to navigate, using the natural gaps in the dirt to guide my path. I would see a shiny rock on the corner of the screen and drill all the way over there. I would zig and zag my way deeper into Mars. But there's an important caveat to your mining rig's abilities in Motherlode. Although you can dig down left and right, you cannot excavate above you.
This inability, paired with a quickly dwindling gas tank, creates nightmarish situations in which you're lost underground, running out of fuel while desperately trying to retrace your steps to the surface. Also, in Motherlode, when you run out of gas, you explode. I eventually realized that I needed to dig with the exact opposite strategy. Rather than following the natural hollows of the soil, I pointed my mining rig straight down and never deviated. I created a mine shaft with my exact width. Instead of wasting gas navigating back down to the bottom of the hole, I could simply plummet straight down hundreds of feet, decelerating moments before impact. Rather than winding my way back to the surface, I could use the last of my fuel tank to fly straight back up. As a bonus, the deeper into Mars I dug, the more valuable minerals I found. I gained money fast, could kit out my machine to dig even faster. But my strategy had a strange drawback. When I let curiosity guide my mining, the hole was disorganized, inefficient, and recognizably human. As I dug straight down into the crust of Mars, I ceased to make decisions. There was only one direction I cared about. Agata, with its more nuanced terrain deformation and recognizably human protagonist, didn't seem to incentivize quite as machine-like decision-making. At first, I dug the yard into more of an open pit. I needed to be able to walk out of the hole, so the deeper it got, the longer a ramp it necessitated. Then, I got the idea, with full awareness of the Junji Ito story I was writing for myself, to dig in a spiral. The hole could get deeper without getting wider. I would just spiral down into the earth and wander my way back up when my shovel ran out of battery. Definitely no metaphors to read into here. No, sir. What's striking about both Agata and Motherlode is their ability to instantly lock a player in without any of the usual tricks. No exciting story kickoff, no preview of being overpowered, no scripted set pieces. I realized, as I dug, that digging a hole might be the perfect distillation of the basest appeal of a video game. Yes, I love a thoughtful narrative and considered art direction and nuanced mechanics, but I think the reason so many of us get wrapped up in games is a simpler, more instinctual satisfaction. You do an action and get immediate, positive feedback. The closest relatives to Agata and Motherlode might not be Minecraft or Terraria, but clicker games, the most streamlined of all video game genres. Click, and the number goes up. Buy an upgrade, and the number goes up faster. What's the end goal? There isn't one. Make the number go up faster. Dig a deeper hole.
It's this immediacy between action and result that I think makes digging a hole so appealing in real life as well. You take a shovelful of dirt out of the ground and you can immediately see your impact on the world. No working up the chain of bureaucracy, no waiting for approval, no imperceptible movement towards some goal a million miles away. You finish a day at your bullshit job, you pay your bullshit rent, you eat your bullshit food, you run on a million treadmills for the privilege of continuing to run on those same treadmills until you die, and then you go out back and take a shovelful of dirt out of the ground, and the hole is one shovelful bigger. No one can deny that impact. That theory didn't quite stand up to real-life testing, however. On a cool March morning, I couldn't stand to keep this fixation theoretical any longer. I went outside, took a shovel, and started to dig. My first couple shovelfuls were tricky as I tore through the dense lattice of grass and weeds on top of the dirt. I thought, it'll probably get easier after this. Those first shovelfuls were the easiest part of my morning. My problem, as I should have predicted, was the soil itself. I live in North Carolina, a state that, left to its own devices, would be a single massive forest. I started digging at least 15 feet from the nearest tree, but every single time I sunk my shovel into the ground, I hit a root. Roots! The rebar of the dirt! I cut through them and dug around them, but as deep as I dug, they burrowed deeper. Also an issue is the makeup of North Carolina earth. That is, it's almost entirely clay. Only about 4 inches into the ground, I started pulling up pure red clay. Clay is wet, sticky,
and seemingly weighs about 1,000 pounds per shovel. It stuck to my blade. I pushed it off with my boot. It stuck to my boot. Just an hour into my dig, my feet seemed to be encased in cinder blocks, the hole was filling with water, and I felt like I hadn't gotten anywhere. I took the L. I wiped off my boots, picked up the shovel, and grudgingly filled the hole back in. As a young person, I feel I was misled on the ease of digging a hole by Louis Sachser's 1998 novel, Holes. In Holes, a 14-year-old boy named Stanley Yelnats is sent to Camp Green Lake, a sort of juvenile detention facility where boys are made to dig circular holes every day in a dry lake bed, 5 feet wide and 5 feet deep. This is an enormous hole. This is perhaps intentionally digging most of a grave every single day. And Stanley absolutely struggles to dig the holes, but he does it, and look, maybe it's just the power of a kid's book, or maybe it's the sick song they wrote for the movie. Dig it up, dig it up. But even though I knew the holes were punishment, I still wanted to dig something that big and undeniable, creating an impact on the bottom of the lake like a crater on the surface of the moon. Eventually, I stopped spiraling in Agata, but that's not to say I stopped digging. Instead, I reached the same realization I had in Motherlode all those years ago. For maximum efficiency, I should just go straight down. I bought a jetpack in the game and improved it enough that I could simply jet straight up to the surface when my pockets were full. Like Motherlode, the most valuable ore lay hundreds of feet below ground. This is not a unique design element. In the world's most popular digging game, Minecraft, everyone knows that diamonds can only be found near the bottom of the world. I spent many hours strip mining the bottom of my Minecraft map, trying to maximize the efficiency of my search for these gems. However, most players also know the first rule of Minecraft: to avoid an unexpected fall into a cave or fatal swim in lava, never dig straight down. To dig straight down is to consign yourself to whatever the ground happens to be hiding, and this is exactly what I did in a game about digging a hole. Eventually, I upgraded my Super Mega Digger 3000 Ultimate 2.0 so much that I no longer needed to scoop individual parcels of dirt out of the earth. My shovel became a drill. I could hold down the button and easily sink through layer upon layer of the ground. Occasionally, I'd encounter a rock that blocked my drill, but even these were quickly removed with a stick of dynamite. My previous pit, my spiral, these were vestiges of a hole-digging amateur. Nothing could stop my descent now. The hole became its own story, my own personal history of how I engaged with the ground. Really, it's hard to deny the narrative utility of digging a hole. In holes, they serve as physical metaphors for the empty promises of Camp Green Lake, each hole filled neither with treasure nor the ability to rehabilitate its adolescent inhabitants. In the beautifully stupid 2003 film The Core, the Earth's core has somehow stopped rotating and a team of scientists, I use that term extremely loosely, are tasked with piloting a vessel down to the core of the planet and restarting its rotation using nuclear bombs. In Wes Anderson's adaptation of the Roald Dahl novel Fantastic Mr. Fox, digging a hole is the primary verb of both the pro and antagonists. Mr. Fox digs into the farms of the evil Bogus, Bunce, and Bean to steal their livestock and cider. In response, the three farmers excavate away Mr. Fox's entire home. Digging a hole is an art that the foxes do with precision, and simultaneously a destructive capability humans wield with abandon. One of cinema's greatest digs is one we don't even get to see. In The Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne digs a hole out of his cell millimeters at a time over the course of 20 years. The painstaking process is left to our imagination. We just see the cell wall, see the tiny hammer Andy used, and understand the magnitude of what he's done. As Morgan Freeman tells us,
"Turns out, Andy's favorite hobby was toting his wall out into the exercise yard. A handful at a time."
And maybe it's because I was swept up in that same narrative power that I found myself driving west bright and early on a Saturday morning. My failure to dig even a reasonably deep hole was eating away at me. Surely I could do better than a muddy, knee-deep pit. So I did some research, asked my local subreddit, got a lot of responses assuming I was trying to bury a body, but then some brilliant soul told me about Hiddenite, North Carolina. Hiddenite is a census-designated place about halfway between where I live and the more mountainous regions of North Carolina. It has a population of about 500 people, and it has a gemstone mine. Hiddenite itself actually got its name from a particular kind of gemstone. It's a town that loves rocks. And in that spirit, Hiddenite is home to the Emerald Hollow Mine, a common destination for field trips, family excursions, and at least one YouTuber trying to dig a big hole. So, along with two friends who immediately understood the appeal of my quest, I set off for Hiddenite. We drove past a circus tent, we drove past an American flag so large it was the subject of a lawsuit, we got driven past by a Corvette with a spoiler that said penis extension, and eventually we wandered into the Emerald Hollow Mine. Now, you have probably seen sluiceways similar to what Emerald Hollow has, where you get a bucket of dirt and sift it through running water to find shiny rocks. That's what most visitors were there for. But we were there because the mine was more than happy to give us a couple shovels and a patch of land and simply let us dig. The soil was dry and firm, roots were non-existent, nothing could stop us. I am so glad that I went to Hiddenite, to this optimal digging location, because my experience there genuinely did teach me so much about digging a hole. The most obvious observation is that the complexity of a dig increases exponentially the further into the earth you go. When we began, every shovelful was easy. We outlined a broad circle where we each had plenty of room and started piling the dirt we removed from the hole wherever was convenient. But the natural shape of a hole isn't cylindrical, it's conical. As nice as it would have been to keep an even, flat floor as we ventured downwards, our standing positions and the natural paths of our shovels inevitably sloped the sides of our quickly growing pit. After half an hour, the hole was too steep for even one of us to stand inside it, let alone 3 full adults. Another issue was that none of my experience with Motherlode, Minecraft, or Agata prepared me for the logistics of simply lifting a shovel. Namely, shovels are really long. In any of those digging games, the dirt simply disappears after you hit it with your tool, but in real life, the arc of a shovel requires a huge amount of space. If your hole is 5 feet deep, that means a shovelful of dirt needs to travel at least 5 feet upwards before it can be deposited on the ground. Actions we could do thoughtlessly at the beginning of our dig eventually required a huge amount of coordination. We dug steps into the side of the hole so one of us could brace ourselves against the sides while pulling dirt from the very bottom. Now let me be clear about 2 things. 1, we dug a very deep hole. It might not fully come through in the footage, but multiple people walked by, casually glanced in, and then fully stopped to say, "Holy shit." And 2, it was a blast. I knew it would be physically taxing to dig a big hole, but I had no idea how much legit problem solving it would entail. Every foot down presented a new challenge, and we approached each stage of our dig in a new way. You may be wondering, well, you were at Emerald Hollow Mine. Did you find any emeralds? Or at least any cool rocks? The answer, my friend, is no. Not even one. But we found something better.
I'm Jacob Keller, and I finally dug a big hole!
Eventually, we had to tear ourselves away. But maybe inspired by years of playground conversations, I couldn't help thinking, what if we just kept going? Don't go inside, don't go back to our regular lives, just keep on digging a hole. To China, of course. Dig straight through the earth, come out the other side. Although in our case, in Hiddenite, North Carolina, a hole straight through the earth would have us emerging in the middle of the ocean, about 1,000 miles from the western shore of Australia. And there are places on Earth where people have just kept digging, places that are both nightmarishly deep, but somehow also almost comically shallow. The deepest humans have ever stood underground, deeper than any naturally occurring cave we've explored, is in the depths of a gold mine. Specifically, the Mponeng gold mine in South Africa, which is nearly 4 kilometers deep, or 2,600 times the depth of the hole we dug in Hiddenite. It is so deep that in the depths of the mine, the surface of the rock itself is 150 degrees Fahrenheit, so deep that a new type of microorganism was discovered there, one that exists and subsists on the radioactive decay of its surroundings. It's also 4 kilometers, 2.5 miles. It's a nice Sunday stroll. It's not even half of the Marianas Trench. The deepest we've ever dug with no concept of a human ever reaching the bottom, is the Kola Super Deep Borehole in Russia, a 20th century science project with the goal of drilling down as far as possible. And it did, for almost 25 years, boring tens of thousands of feet down. It surpassed the depth of the Krubera Cave, the Mponeng Mine, the Marianas Trench. It dug and dug and dug, finally spinning to a stop more than 7.5 miles under the ground. It dug so deep that it spawned an iconic urban legend of a borehole in Russia that pierced the caverns of hell itself. It dug so deep it made it maybe a third through the very first layer of the Earth. The Earth's crust is the thinnest part, the apple skin in comparison to the apple, a postage stamp stuck to the outside of a basketball, a quarter century of drilling to make it not even halfway through the postage stamp. The drill stopped turning in 1995. At present, the facility that housed the borehole is decrepit, abandoned, and falling apart. A small metal cap seals off the deepest hole humanity has ever dug.
It's hard for games, or any media, to give a satisfying conclusion to an unimaginably deep dig. My narrative while I played these games was the gradual disregard of everything except the hole, buying more upgrades, removing more obstacles, anything to make the world I created inside the Earth the only one that mattered. But this is not ultimately the narrative these media are interested in delivering. Agata ends with you falling into a surprise network of giant moles. Motherlode's finale, some unknown 1,000 feet under the surface, is a boss fight against your boss, who turns out to be Satan himself. The game retroactively tells us that there was a purpose to our digging. Didn't you realize? You were digging to find the giant moles, digging to fight the boss. In Holes, in Shawshank, the hole was ultimately a method of escape from something. They were eventually able to dig far enough that they left poverty and prison behind. But for me, playing these games, for me going to Hiddenite, for the stories that continue to pop up about these fixations, the hole isn't a means to an escape, it itself is the escape. One shovelful after the other, an undeniable effect on an otherwise inscrutable world. When I was playing Minecraft, 15 years ago at this point, the game had no final boss, no ultimate goal to work towards. It was a smaller game, and I mean that literally. The possible depth of each generated world was half what it is now. Again and again, I would dig down as far as possible, only to hit bedrock, the bottom of the world, the unbreakable crust of Minecraft's landmass. But sometimes, for some unknown technical reason, one of the blocks securing the bottom of the map would simply not spawn in. I would reach the bottom of the world, and then catch a glimpse of something further still, an infinite abyss stretching out in front of me. If only I had a shovel that could reach it.
You got to go and dig those holes.
Man, I'm tired.
You might know that, for years now, I've been making a collection of entirely separate bonus videos that I put up on Nebula.
Well, at the end of my months-long fixation on digging holes, there seemed to be only one option on what to make: a video on Holes, both the book and the 2003 movie adaptation. So if you sign up right now for Nebula, you can watch a nearly hour-long video where I and my wonderful fiancée Annie talk about our experience revisiting this landmark of children's literature. To cut to the chase, Holes is still a remarkable story, and I had so much fun re-experiencing this part of my childhood. That's not the only thing I've got on Nebula though, not by a long shot. Don't care for Holes? How about entire video essays on Peggle, or Arkham Knight, or 6 Days in Fallujah, or bonus episodes of my podcast Something Rotten, where we're currently covering the original God of War trilogy. Or take a step away from my channel and watch other stuff you can only get on Nebula, like monthly extra videos by Big Joel. I find new things I didn't even know I wanted constantly on Nebula, and you can too, with 40% off an annual subscription by signing up at nebula.tv/Jacob Geller. This video on Holes is really just a chance to hang out and talk about great movies and kids' literature. I had such a good time recording it, and I think you will really enjoy watching it. Check it out today by signing up to Nebula for only $3 a month, 40% off the regular price, using my URL in the description.
With broken hands and withered souls, emancipated from all you know, you got to go and dig those holes.
D10. Oh, that's what we're doing. We're singing. Y'all know nothing about that. Watch me. Watch me. Come on, Ed. Come on, Ed. Prove yourself.
Dig it up, dig it. Dig it up, dig it up, dig it. Dig it up,
Two suits, two tokens in hand. I got no respect cause I'm the new man. Got my shovel, shoes full of sand. Check out the tag, the name's Caveman.
dig it up, dig it. Dig it up, dig it up, dig it. Dig it up,
Take a bad boy, make him dig 5 feet. The dirt in these shovels will give us a beat. Okay, you gotta find something never found before. If not, we'll just have to dig some more. Na 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 na.